M5 Volume 4. Okay, this segment is the Creative Chakra and the Game. That's March 1st, 2009. Wait, one?
The 7 chakras all have key operations for your higher self's incarnational paths. Several segments have touched on our chakras. However, one chakra that I keep hearing about that seems to cause difficulties for some is the second creative chakra. The second chakra is responsible for one's creative and sexual expressions. For most of our incarnational paths, starting with our very first sequential, most of this chakra's energies were given to breeding, and that is as it was intended. It was a new, fun experience for the higher selves. Ideally, the creative and sexual expressions merge and operate as one. This is accomplished by an awakened final incarnation, but can be experienced in stages by those for whom M5 is written, according to one's path. There were also incarnations of the higher self that were our celibate. Celibacy gives the higher self an experience of denial of sexual self. This was intended for those who sought an incarnation away from others, basically a reflective incarnation. We have had an extreme number of sequential incarnations. Simultaneous path higher selves are having hundreds plus of incarnations of all sorts, even one or two genuinely celibate ones. Pre-endgame celibacy is very doable in non-technological Earth. Affectional rebellion is a higher self-experience to the extremely controlling sequential breeding demand. Affectional rebellion also frees the spirit from sequential control. This is different from sexual experimentation and rampant bisexuality, especially in Iranian and Syrian cultures. Sequential bisexuality is sex for sex alone. This has been carried over to the simultaneous path. Bisexuality on Earth is extremely common, but also much denied in general, while being gay or lesbian incarnations have been greatly suppressed due to affectional fears of those clinging to sequential conformity. This has been discussed in past M5 segments. Enter Endgame Pregraduates. For this group, the spirit is to override the physical. The advanced incarnational levels are to break experiential loops, rebel against sequential controls and break free of the game. The more advanced one's incarnation is, the more difficult loops controls will be dealt with. Very advanced incarnations are far more spiritually connected and will rebel in several areas. One's final doesn't care what other incarnations demand in conformity as graduation approaches. A problem that I have been running across from some of those for whom Matrix V is written is that their spiritual expressions of affection sexuality is running into conflict with their body ID sexuality. Sexual programming is a major body ID control and also has been discussed in earlier M5 segments. From what I am told, the problem is not with incarnations whose higher self has chosen the gay-lesbian path, but rather those who chose the greater challenge of entering the final stages of Endgame as a body-aided heterosexual with the higher self desiring to break that breeder loop. They seem to partially break the loop which engages the body ID's subcommand. For this instance, if I can't have it my way, it will not function. This is celibacy. What makes it different is the spirit's intent, the search to express affection in a sexual manner. Monk, nun, reclusive celibacy is not considered rebellious by the body ID structure. The rebellious is by recognizing, either consciously or unconsciously, that the opposite gender's energies can be spiritually damaging while the same gender's energies are comforting and enhancing. When the body ID senses that it is not common bisexuality, sex for sex alone, and that it cannot halt the spiritual progression, it engages the lie of celibacy as being superior to all sex. This is the final gasp of the body ID command to attempt to quash spirit override. I personally know a few M5 readers who believe that celibacy is a superior position to any affection with sexual involvement. What this does is basically bottle up one's second chakra with self-imposed restrictions and denials. From a shamanic perspective, I've noticed these blocks of the chakra to be like lids on a pot, containing the spirit's creative release. This is the body ID setting up a dead end for spiritual advancement. The body ID considers this to be necessary while it sends signals to others to drag this rebel back to the bin, crabs in a bucket. What the body ID fears is being discarded as no longer necessary for the spirit. The body ID craves immortality and eternal youth. This is what our higher self is. The body is only a vehicle for experiences. No more. Hence the vehicle will try to deny the spirit higher experiences by using its array of sexually based weaponry including the opposite gender, game-controlled, friends and body, family, religion, etc. to reinforce how you should be to conform to others. Control sequential. The only way to move beyond this bogus cul-de-sac of celibacy is by strength of the spirit which can and will break body ID control on this issue. The very advanced, in particular, have projects and experiences to engage in with unfettered second chakras. These are designed by higher selves for specific reasons. If that is part of your path, the incarnation of other higher selves will be there for you. Rebellious events, with one's second chakra, is also an indication of how comfortable one is with their true self and how independent of the sequential past one is. Remember, it is not sex for sex alone. That's sequential. Sex for sex alone is the doom of any kind of relationship. However, when sex is the result of a bond based on affection love, again, past M5 segments, one can truly experience what the higher selves involved have in store. The more advanced one is, the more interesting their creative results are. Needless to say, two finals would have the optimum experiences based on who they are to their higher selves. Recognizing that your spirit is being controlled by body ID is vital to spiritual awakening. The body ID command structure would have you look externally and engage in victimhood to deny spirituality. Your path is your path alone. Being aware of the sinister, controlling body ID is necessary to those for whom M5 is written. Trust in your higher self.